Good morning, children, to all of you all. Hope you are all safe at your homes. We have already completed 2 chapters of our biology section. Hope you all must have completed them and also revised them during these holidays. Before going on to the holidays, we had started the chapter Diversity in the Living Organisms and I had introduced you to the chapter. We shall be continuing this chapter in the coming days also. Now, first of all, I want you all to revise this chapter once again along with me. The first thing which we studied in the chapter was what is classification and why is it needed and how is this classification of organisms done. So the first and the foremost thing here is what is classification. So classification is the process or it is the method in which we classify or arrange the organisms depending upon their characteristic features. Now the second thing here comes that what do you understand by these features and how are we to arrange these features. So the characteristic features are the behavior and the function an organism will be having in that particular environment. So, and how are we going to be arranging them? We will be arranging them according to the basic characteristics that how is that organism, how whether it is a unicellular one or a multicellular one, whether it can make its own food or it depends upon other organisms, and likewise so many different characteristics we are going to be learning one by one. Secondly, how organisms, what is the need of these classification of the organism? The need of classification is that once we classify the organisms into smaller groups, we can study the organisms easily. We will be knowing about the organisms even if we study according their groups. Secondly, we are also going to be learning while classifying that how the organisms must have been evolved step by step and what is the relationship between them. Therefore, the study of these organisms or classification is necessary. The third thing we studied that various attempts have been made to classify the organisms, but the most adopted one is the one which was given by Robert Whittaker in 1959 and that was the 5-kingdom classification. So today's topic we are going to be studying about these 5 kingdoms one by one and also about the characteristic features of these organisms. Now to start with, we shall be studying what are the basic bases for classifying of these organisms. So the basis of classifying the organisms into 5 groups, 5 kingdoms are first of all the cell structure. The cell structure means you all know that every organism is made up of cell. And in the previous chapter we have studied that normally there are 2 types of cells. One is the prokaryotic cell and the other is the eukaryotic cell. So each living organism can be classified as a prokaryotic or a eukaryotic organism. The second here is the mode and source of nutrition. That means how the organism takes its food, whether it is a prokaryote or whether it is a eukaryote, it will be taking its food either by autotrophic mode or by heterotrophic mode. That means it may be autotrophic in nature, prepare its own food, or will be depending upon other organism to take their own food. In case of heterotrophic organism, it may be a parasite, it may be a saprophyte, or it may also be a free living organism. Thirdly, it is the body organization. The body organization means when you are going to be having organisms which will be unicellular or organisms which will be multicellular. Most of the organisms which we find around ourselves are multicellular in nature. So these three are the characteristic features on the basis of which the five kingdom classification was done. Now, according to that, the three characteristic features, Whittaker divided all the organisms into five kingdoms. These five kingdoms were Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. I repeat it again. They are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Now we shall be studying about the characteristic features of all these kingdoms one by one, starting with kingdom Monera. Now the organisms here, they do not have a well-defined nucleus. That means the nucleus and the organelles are absent. So these are prokaryotic organisms. They are unicellular in structures and they can be autotrophic as well as heterotrophic in nature. Organisms such as blue-green algae, that is cyanobacteria, is autotrophic in nature. On the other hand, many of the bacteria are also autotrophic and many of them are going to be heterotrophic. They may be saprophytic or they may be they may be parasitic also. They reproduce by the asexual mode of reproduction. Normally they reproduce by multiple fission. The main examples or the common examples here are bacteria, and this is an example of nostoc, which is a blue-green algae. One more example is mycoplasma. These organisms are even smaller than the bacteria. So bacteria, blue-green algae and mycoplasma are the three main groups of organisms which are included in the kingdom Monera. The next group of organisms is Protista, kingdom, that is kingdom Protista. Here the organisms are going to be eukaryotic. The organisms are eukaryotic and aquatic in nature. They are most of the organisms are going to be aquatic. They are all found in water. Some of these organisms are going to be having appendages such as cilia or flagella for movement. Cilia are present throughout the body. They are very small hair-like structures present throughout the body, and flagella are going to be whip-like structures. Whip means chabuk. It is a whip-like structure which is going to be present either one or two. Organisms such as Paramecium are going to be having cilia all over their body, and on the other hand Euglena have flagella for movement. Now these organisms are autotrophic. Only one, that is Euglena, is autotrophic in nature, and most of them are heterotrophic in nature, in which amoeba and Paramecium are free living. And also there are parasitic organisms such as Plasmodium, which is the malarial parasite, and one more parasite is there, which is Trypanosoma. They reproduce asexually and mostly they will be reproducing by the process of binary fission. Now these are certain diagrams, these are some examples of protozoa. This is amoeba, well-known amoeba, you are all very well aware with it. This is paramecium, this is euglena with a single flagella here, and this is plasmodium, which is the malarial parasite. The next group of organism here is the kingdom fungi. Now these organisms are heterotrophic, eukaryotic in nature, and in case they are heterotrophic, they are mostly saprophytic or parasitic in nature. They are not free living. They live mostly in damp and marshy places. Among them, yeast is unicellular, whereas all other are going to be multicellular organisms. Only yeast is going to be unicellular, and you all have heard about yeast when we were studying in class 8 the chapter of microorganisms, friend and foe, where we studied that yeast is used in the process of fermentation. So this yeast is a fungi. Then these all are going to be having a cell wall made of a tough complex sugar, which is known as chitin. They reproduce both by sexual as well as asexual means. Sexual reproduction normally occurs when unfavorable conditions have to be arisen. They make the zygote and they go into the dormant stage. And when favorable conditions will be arising, the zygote will be germinating and they will be forming new organisms. In asexual reproduction, they normally are going to be reproducing by making large number of spores. So they reproduce both sexually as well as asexually. These are certain examples. This is bread mold, mucor, जिसे हम लोग फफूंद कहते हैं. The second one is aspergillus, and the third one here, it is the penicillin, which was used for the first time to make the antibiotic penicillin. So this is penicillium, this is aspergillus, and this is bread mold, or we also call it to be as mucor. Here the next kingdom is kingdom Plantae. These are multicellular eukaryotes with a cell wall made up of cellulose. They all are autotrophs and have chlorophyll for photosynthesis. You all are seeing plants all around you all, and they are all included in this kingdom Plantae. Now this kingdom Plantae we will be studying in our next topic in detail, where we shall be studying them into various different smaller groups depending upon their body structures. Now here the last kingdom is kingdom Animalia, and here the organisms are going to be multicellular eukaryotes. They do not have a cell wall and they are all going to be heterotrophic. So all animals, whichever type they are, wherever they live, they are all going to be included in this kingdom Animalia. This kingdom Animalia also we are going to be studying in detail, where we shall be studying how these organisms in kingdom Animalia are divided into smaller groups. What are their characteristic features? So we shall be studying the two kingdoms, Plantae and Animalia, later in our topics, so that you can understand them easily. Hope children, you must have understood the topic of this part, that is the kingdoms, the 5 kingdoms, the basis of their classification, and how these organisms are being divided, what are their characteristic features. Now children, note all these characteristic features in your notebook. They are important for your examination point of view also. and hope you understood the chapter properly. Thank you.